What's going on, everyone? Just pulled up here at South Sycamore Creek in the Tonto National Forest. Gonna do a little shakedown of my new suspension setup. I'll go over that a little bit later, what all I did and why. For right now, I just finished airing down to 20 psi. This is mostly a riverbed. There's a few little hill climbs that I can take. I probably won't. I'm out here solo today, and I don't want to damage anything or get stuck in the middle of the desert. So, without further ado, let's get to it. I'm really liking the feel of the suspension so far at high speed more than low speed. It can handle low speed plenty well, but I mean high speed is just more fun. So next up, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this little hill climb obstacle. I know I said I wasn't gonna do any, but I already walked it. Looks pretty calm. Not looking too bad over here. A little steep, kind of a rut in the middle. Gonna do my best to avoid that. Yeah. Let's go ahead and hit it. Getting out here on the trail just a little bit for about the hour and a half or so that I've been out here. I'm really getting a feel for this setup. I went with the KYB with the Rallytech springs, and I feel like it's a really good combination. It's kind of an OEM plus feel. For those of you that are unfamiliar, OEM is original equipment manufacturer, which is, you know, the manufacturer of your vehicle. And OEM Plus is basically just a step up over what the manufacturer designed your vehicle to do without really taking away from the daily drivability. And I feel like that's a good combination for me. I hit the trails, you know, maybe 6 to 8 times a year. It's once a month, every other month. You know, just kind of depending on what's going on. Hoping to hit stuff a little bit more frequently coming up. You know, now that I've done a lot of maintenance recently on the vehicle. I did the front and rear differentials, changed the fluid on those, changed the CVT fluid, and the whole reason that I actually wound up going with this setup is because my all of my bushings in the front end were just shot, and it's cheaper to buy a control arm with all the bushings already pushed in than you're gonna get by spending labor to have the old bushings pressed out and have new bushings pressed in. And as far as I can tell, I wound up going with the Mevotech front control arms. The metal seems about the same as factory. I'm not sure how well, you know, the bushings are going to hold up. They seem like they're about OEM quality, but time will tell on that. Also, all of my end links were completely blown, so I needed new end links. The toe arms in the back, which kind of have a small ball joint that affixes to the wheel hub. Those were shot. Surprisingly enough, my tie rod ends and my upper control arms in the rear were fine. The bushings are a little bit dry, but I mean, it's Arizona. They're probably going to be dry within a year anyways. I'll have to keep an eye out on those. And then I also went with Godspeed lower control arms, and that's so I could get a little bit of just a little bit of negative camber. I'm running half a degree of negative camber all the way around. I was originally running positive camber after I did the ADF 1-inch strut lift, and that's just, you know, the 1-inch puck spacer essentially, just to give me a little bit more ground clearance after I air down off-road, essentially. So it'll kind of keep me at stock height, maybe a little bit higher, given that I'm also running nearly a little bit over 1.5 inch tall tires. So you figure you cut that in half, that's 3/4 inch. And then you have the 1-inch strut top spacer. And so that way I'm running maybe 1 inch over, which should account for any airing down that I do. For sandy terrain like I was on right now, I generally air down to 20 psi. Everything seems to work just fine at that psi. So yeah, for anyone that's curious, I would, so far my initial impressions, I would definitely recommend the KYB XLG shocks and struts. So Subaru from 2010 to 2012 had lighter valving in the Subaru Outbacks for the shocks and struts, and they went with that for a more compliant ride, just kind of, you know, a family station wagon. But for 2013, 2014, I guess they got a lot of complaints that the ride was too compliant, there's too much rear end sway. So they changed out the valving, and it was a little bit more aggressive, tightened up the rear end, tightened up the front end. And those are the KYBs that I went with, the KYB XLGs for the 2013-2014 model. And then I went with the Rallytech overload springs. They list them as a stock height spring. I feel like I got just a little bit of a lift. That may be because I don't run a whole lot of weight in the vehicle, and maybe because the suspension hasn't completely settled. I've put about 600 miles on, about 2 tanks of gas so far. And that's been, I've hit a few forest roads. I did a small road trip up north and just general commuting. So we'll see if that kind of lowers. I don't really feel like it's going to. I don't overload my vehicle. It's generally just either me or me and my wife with maybe, you know, a little bit of gear in the back just to go hang out for the day in the woods. But I'll go ahead and keep everyone updated as things progress. If I run into any trouble with any of the suspension parts that I went with, I'll definitely let people know. If you have any questions or comments, if you're wondering if this setup may be right for you, go ahead and leave a comment down below, leave a like, and feel free to subscribe as well. I'm going to try to be a little bit more regular with videos here in the next couple of months. Maybe, as you've seen, I've actually changed the channel name to Real Rigs Rattle, and basically I did that because I also started an Instagram page where I'm just trying to feature, you know, rigs of every shape, size, configuration. And I've also recently started selling some stickers that kind of go along with the brand. So if you guys wouldn't mind, you can go ahead and hit up the link down below and you can get a sticker. I'm hoping to have some patches coming soon. I know everyone in the off-road community loves patches. Seems like stickers are almost dead. And honestly, I've reached out to a few vendors. I haven't been super happy with either the pricing or the timeline that they're giving me. So I'm still working that out. But I promise I do get messages about patches, and they are coming. I just need to figure out what makes sense for me to make sure that I'm not sitting on a whole bunch of stock for, you know, the next year and a half and spending a chunk of money that I could have, you know, spent on my car or having a nice day out or, you know, maybe fixing up something around the house. I've definitely put a little bit into the car lately, and I feel like she's running really well. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the trails.